Hello and welcome to Connect and Collaborate. I'm Alex Hopkins, your on-air producer, and this week we have had the honor of talking with our Champions in Industry nominees. And again, that event is taking place on Monday, December 3rd at the Cable Center from 11 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m. If you have not already signed up for that event, be sure to do so at cobrt.com/events. Click on December 3rd and you'll be able to purchase tickets that way. I have on the phone with me today Roberta Robinette. She is Colorado State President of AT&T and one of our nominees in the technology category. So Roberta, how are you doing?
I'm doing. How are you doing? Thank you very much for having us on here, by the way.
Yes, our pleasure. You guys have some stiff competition. You are up against Zayo Group and Crown Castle. I would imagine that those are big names that you're competing with, but also you work well together.
Yeah, I was just going to say their names I am extremely familiar with. We do have some great partnerships with them as well. We've worked with both of them, and they're both very wonderful companies. And so it's kind of funny. It's just one of those things that happens in the industry where sometimes they might be competitors, and in other situations they're going to be our partners in helping us accomplish what we need to do here in Colorado.
Wonderful, and they spoke very highly of AT&T as well on the show. So I want to get a little bit of your background, Roberta, and how you got started at AT&T and how your tenure there has grown.
Yeah, so I am a native of Colorado. I grew up in Pueblo, so just a couple hours south of Denver. And I started my career with AT&T about 20 odd years ago. And I have always been in the government affairs, the external affairs department for AT&T. When I did come back in-house, originally I had just been focusing on policy and trying to make sure that we have policy in Colorado that really helps AT expand its presence here and bring the new technologies to Colorado. When I came back in-house about 5 years ago and took the role of president, what I also took over was the community relations piece of it as well. And that's one of the areas that I really enjoy doing now. And a lot of that is I go out and I find nonprofits and community partners that really help AT&T put themselves into the community to show our commitment to the community. And so, one of the things that we do is in 2008, our chairman created our Aspire Foundation. And really the thought behind that is he wanted to do something about tackling some of our students and the low graduation rates. And so he really wanted to do something in the communities where we really go local and find those community partners that we can work with that really make a difference in making sure that our students are prepared for the workforce, that they are continuing their education so that they're graduating and looking for the future. And so I've had a wonderful time actually learning and meeting a lot of our community partners, finding out what they're doing in the communities and seeing how AT&T can partner with them. Not only do we do that, but we also are able to bring in our employees here in Colorado. I'm proud to say that we've got over 2,500 employees here, and they are wonderful about volunteering for opportunities. And so what we've been able to is not only give monetary contributions for partnerships with these community programs, but we've also been able to get our employees engaged. And that is the one thing that really has stuck out for me is just how wonderful our employees are here in giving their time on a lot of these projects. And some of them give long-term commitments, where we have some community programs that it's a 4-year commitment, getting students all the way through high school, to one-day volunteer opportunities where we'll go to a neighborhood school, clean up neighborhoods, or build playgrounds and things like that. So that is a part of what I really enjoy doing, is just really showing AT&T's commitment to the communities.
And that's wonderful. I would imagine that switching over from government relations and working on public policy into a community relations role for AT&T was probably a big shift for you. I mean, you're still advocating for the little guys in the communities, but I would imagine that was a pretty rewarding shift for you.
Very much so. And again, we still have a focus on, making sure that we have a business-friendly environment here in Colorado. But again, we've expanded what we also look at. We really work with a lot of our partners down at whether it's at the government level, the federal level, or the state level. We really also want to start looking towards our future workforce and programs, or what can we do on a policy level that really helps prepare folks for our new century of workforce and what's needed from today's employer, and really making sure that folks are getting the education they need without being straddled with debt and taking on years of schooling that may or may not be needed when they can, get the skills and the education that they need to really get out there and get a good job and start making some good money. So I love the way that they are woven together as far as just learning more about the needs of the community, and then also taking that into a policy perspective and seeing how we might be able to solve some of the issues that we're looking at today.
Wonderful. And as you know, Colorado Business Roundtable is a huge advocate for workforce development as well. And AT&T is one of Cobert's partners. And we work well together, I think, focusing on those issues of workforce development and ensuring, as you said, that these students aren't coming out of college in debt but still not able to get a comparable paying job.
Yeah, that is one of the things that really attracted us to a partnership with Cobert was, they were willing to look at issues, hearing from all sides. I've always appreciated that, where they bring all stakeholders to the table and they listen and they really make people roll up their sleeves and come up with solutions and really tackle a lot of these issues. And so we've really appreciated our partnership with Cobert. Again, it's because they do take the time to hear from all stakeholders to see how do we best tackle the issues that we're facing today. So it's been a great partnership for us.
Wonderful. We appreciate hearing that for sure. And just to let our audience know out there, you were not nominated by Cobert. We had no hand in that whatsoever. I just want to clear up any maybe looks like backroom dealings, but you were nominated by a third-party organization, and we are glad to see that you were nominated because you guys do great work in the community. Let's talk a little bit more about some current projects that you have going on at AT&T that we should know about that maybe the public isn't aware of or Coloradans aren't aware of.
Well, we've got so much going on, and it's a really exciting time for AT&T right now. It's one of those, as I mentioned, I've been with AT&T for over 20 years, and at that time, everybody knew AT&T as a telecommunications company, and not a day would go by that, when I'd be talking to somebody and they would find out I work for AT&T, that, they would tell me how somebody has either worked for AT&T, it could be a grandfather or an aunt or a mother. And so we've really evolved, to where we are now a modern media company. And so we're not just providing telecommunications services anymore. We're providing premium content, advertising technology, high-speed networks. It's just a very exciting time for us because what we've seen is, we've really listened to what the customer wants. And so we've been able to bring our assets all together and really provide a one-stop shop for our customer. And so we've a lot going on with that. But, we also have our small cell build-out here in Colorado. And a lot of folks here, talk about 5G and what does that mean? And really for folks, what that means is we are bringing the Internet of Things to you. And so we've been working a lot with our local governments so that we are able to put the network in place and the technology in place so that we can start providing those new technologies for everybody, but not only on an individual basis, but at a city level. And folks have probably heard the term smart cities. And that's something that we're working with local governments with as well, and how we make government more efficient. We also recently, a couple years ago, got a contract with the federal government to provide a service called FirstNet. And that was really born out of the 9/11 Commission, which talked about interoperability and the lack thereof that was missed during 9/11 with our first responders. And so what folks decided was we needed to make sure we had one dedicated broadband network for all of our first responders so that the problems of communication that were witnessed during 9/11 never happened again. And so we are really proud that we were awarded that bid. And so we have been working not only at the state, but the local government level, and along with our first responders to really, we're building out our network here in Colorado today. We're working with our rural providers, partnerships, but really what we're trying to do is make sure that we have a very robust network here in Colorado and throughout the country, that whenever there is either a natural disaster or any type of emergency response where we're going to have first responders from different communities all coming together, but they're able to communicate. And so we are literally going public safety office by public safety office and educating them about the benefits of FirstNet, and working with our partners in the communities as well to just let everybody know what FirstNet is and what the benefits that it'll bring to our first responders and to everybody.
I actually, a couple of things here about the FirstNet program. One, that is why you guys were nominated, was for that program, because it's done such wonders in the communities, nationwide as well as in Colorado. And I had the opportunity to interview Ryan Fields back over that. And it was a really interesting interview, and we got really deep into the FirstNet program, which was amazing. I think it's an underrated program that you have for sure, and not a lot of people know about it, but I think it's going to do wonderful things if we do see more anything like 9/11. Heaven forbid that happen again, but this time we're going to be able to combat those issues that we had before with communication.
Yeah, and I think what's really important for folks to know is this is a network that is specifically dedicated to first responders and all of the other tiers of responders that need to coordinate efforts during times of emergencies. There are, I think sometimes people get confused because they'll hear, other providers saying that they also offer that. AT&T is the only company that is offering a network specific and dedicated to first responders. And the other thing about that is, in these times of crisis, as everybody knows, especially now with video and folks with their smartphones, sometimes when an emergency situation is happening, folks want to be able to take that video and get it out to everybody, to what is going on live time. What we do is we make sure that our first responders always have priority and preemption on that network. And so we don't have to worry, or I should say our first responders don't have to worry about the network getting clogged up and that they're not able to have the connections with the other first responders that they need to, because this network is going to be dedicated and it is going to preempt any of that and make sure that our first responders are always a priority and are always able to talk to each other. And so that's where we really need to highlight and underline and boldface the difference with what FirstNet is in comparison to some of these other programs that may be out there.
Wonderful. And yes, I thank you for mentioning that AT&T is the only company that has this dedicated to first responders. And the nice thing about it is, yes, while we think of disasters and making sure that our first responders get there, there are other things too, right? So perhaps you're at a concert or a large venue, say the Super Bowl, for example, and a lot of people are on the same network, but there's a kid that goes missing. These first responders can send those pictures to each other immediately looking for that kid. And it's not just large-scale disasters. Even on a small scale, when emergencies need to happen, you guys are right there supporting that.
Right. You are spot on with that. There are times, and hopefully here eventually we'll have the opportunity to be in a Super Bowl parade or a World Series parade. In the downtown area, again, where all of a sudden you're having millions of people coming into one area, which for any network is gonna cause some pressure onto it. And so you're exactly right. In those instances, and AT&T has said, not only do we have our dedicated network for our first responders, but we will use our commercial network. They will also get that priority and preemption because we want to make sure, first and foremost, that everybody is safe, protected, and that our first responders have all tools necessary to make sure that everybody is. So it's an excellent point that you bring out. It's not only man-made or natural disasters that FirstNet would be used. It will be used in any time there are large crowds of people in one specific concentrated area.
Wonderful. Well, Roberta, in these next 7 minutes, I'm going to change gears on you a little bit, and let's talk about the future of what AT&T has. You mentioned that you've gone from a telecommunications company to a modern media company. And I have to tell you, my grandmother actually did work for AT&T. So back when we were charged for long distance, we got a pretty nice discount on that because of my grandmother working at AT&T. But you are a modern media company. We know 5G is around the corner, and as you mentioned, you've got your small cell build-out going on. What else can we expect from AT&T in the next year or so?
Well, may or may not know that we acquired DirecTV a couple years ago, and this was part of our all-around strategy of really just trying to make sure that we were providing a service that our customer wanted. And I think everybody can relate now that we are a mobile society. And so, what we now recognize is everybody wants their services and they want them to be with them at all times. And so we really took that seriously. And so when we purchased DirecTV, that was one of the things that we were able to focus on, was making sure that we were able to be a distributor of content. But what we also recognized at that same time was that we also needed to be an owner of that content. And so one of the things that we did that folks are probably a little more familiar with just because it's been most recent is our purchase of Media, Time Warner, which is now Warner Media. And with that, we are now able to also become creators of content. And so with that, we have a lot of flexibility to work with creators of programs that maybe won't necessarily ever see the day of light. Because one of the things that we also want to make sure that we're doing is bringing content that everybody wants to see and bringing a diversity into that content. And so, that is another thing that I think a lot of folks are going to be seeing is that we're going to have, and I think you're seeing it now, is that AT&T is having its own original programming, and we're really excited about that as well. We are looking at having an ad technology platform, which really is about focusing our advertising to our customer, where you're not getting a lot of advertising that really doesn't mean anything to you. We really want to be able to focus the content of that advertising into what are the interests of the customer that would be helpful to them today. And so, as I said, we've gone from, a telecommunications company that everybody has been familiar with to this new evolving modern media company that is providing so many other services to folks. And so it's just a very exciting time, not only to be in the industry, but specifically to be with AT&T, because I think, that we really have been looking and evolving into what we believe our customer wants from us. And so, it's an exciting time. Things are changing so quickly these days with technology. And we've been able to piece all of our assets together, whether it be with DirecTV, whether it be with our content, and again with the smart cells that are going to bring 5G and the Internet of Things to our customers. We're going to be able to provide those conveniences for every aspect of our customers' life in their day-to-day living.
Well, that is wonderful to hear about your own original programming and all the things that you have coming up for AT&T. I'm going to switch gears one more time on you here and ask you, let's bring it back to Colorado, right? Our Champions in Industry Awards, while we know AT&T is a international company, let's bring it back down to our roots here. And you mentioned you're a native and you've had your 20 years at AT&T. I would imagine that you've seen a lot change with AT&T and Colorado specific. If you don't mind giving us a little bit of your journey.
Yeah, it's and what a journey it has been. Again, as I stated before, when I first started with AT&T, at the time we had actually just purchased TCI, and we became AT&T Broadband, and that is really at a time when broadband was not a term that folks were familiar with, which is always kind of funny to talk about today because, broadband is one of those issues that's top and center of everybody's mind because everybody is so reliant on it today. But again, I've just seen AT&T evolve into a company that's constantly trying to make sure that they're able to meet all of their customers' needs. And like I said, we were a telecommunications company, then we became a broadband company. With our purchase of DirecTV, we became a distributor, and we started getting into, the world of entertainment. We now have Time Warner, which is now Warner Media, and we're getting into content development. And so I really think that we have become a company of the 21st century, in really, again, going back to what is it that the customer wants. And it's not only about entertainment, which is huge, but it's also about how do we make our customer's life more convenient, more efficient. It seems like we're always on the go these days. And so, again, the evolution of 5G and technologies, the more that we're able to get them into, the cities and the infrastructure, it's just going to make everything so much more convenient and have right there with you again, so that everything you want to do is going to be literally in the palm of your hand with your phone. So it's an exciting time. Things are moving fast, but I will tell you, the last few years, I've seen technology and the company moving at an even faster pace. Just trying to make sure that we're always going for that next thing that folks are going to want.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Roberta, for taking time out to speak with us. And we are going to keep our fingers crossed for you at the award ceremony on Monday. We will see you there. You're actually speaking as well, so I'm looking forward to that from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time today. And, I just want to say once again, the other folks that are nominees are wonderful, wonderful companies and have been great partners. And so we're just honored to be nominated with such a great group of companies.
Oh, thank you very much. And I will be sure to let them know at the ceremony as well. Thank you, Roberta. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.